Hello, friends. How are you today? How have you been these last 2 to 3 months? Maybe you've been doing great. You've had a renewal in your life, a spiritual renewal with Jesus. Maybe you've been enjoying more time with your family. Maybe you've been learning new things about cooking, reading, exercising. Maybe you've been exploring your hobbies. Or maybe you've been longing to go back to work. Maybe you've been yearning to go back to church. Maybe you have even felt isolated or lonely. Maybe you felt like you've been incarcerated in a prison of sorts. Prison of your mind, prison of your heart, or heaven forbid, an actual prison. You know, if you have been any of these things, you may have experienced what the disciple John experienced. He was an effective preacher for Christ. He had a testimony having been with Jesus. He shared that with family, with friends, with strangers. He was living life, and then all of a sudden things changed, and he was sheltered in place by the authorities. In fact, they could not seal his lips from sharing the beautiful news of our wonderful Savior. They could not stop him from being an effective witness for Christ. And they tried. Christian tradition says that they boiled him in oil. The Roman authorities boiled him in oil. Can you imagine that? But he survived without a scratch. Well, then they shipped him off to the Isle of Patmos. There's a series of little islands made out of volcanic rock where they would exile political prisoners or people they'd like to silence or keep quiet. But even there, they couldn't stop him, because it was on the Isle of Patmos that John received the revelation of Jesus, and he shares it with us. The last book of the Bible, the Revelation. We find that John was not alone in his shelter in place on that island. Jesus appeared to him. Jesus shared wonderful news with him. The news of which we would need to have a revelation of Christ in our lives and to share with us what is coming at the end of the age. We find that John was also sheltered in place from the persecutions of Emperor Nero and others that followed him. John was secured away right there with Jesus. Friends, I hope that you have been sheltered in place with Christ sheltered in place in your heart. If you have, or if you haven't, there's no better time than right now to invite him in. You know, one day the doors will open to our lives in many ways. One day we won't be sheltered in place as we have been. One day there may be a knock on your door, and you'll be able to open it up to live your life anew, because Jesus is knocking at the door for you. John writes that in Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. I'd like to share it with you. It says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and dine with him, and he with me." Friends, Jesus wants to come into the door of your heart. When you hear him knocking, will you let him in? He'll spend time with you. He'll dine with you. He'll talk with you. He will love you as his Father loves him. Greater love has anyone than Jesus. Remember, John's the one who wrote, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." My friends, please open the door to your hearts today and receive Jesus in all the way. God bless you.